If you're someone that likes CBDCs, central banking digital currencies, you have got your eyes wide shut. Hello future investors and welcome back to another weekly episode. Now today I want to talk about a very important topic regarding CBDCs, central banking digital currencies. I've completely made a U-turn on my opinion and I think they're going to have a really bad effect on gold and silver. Now, central banking digital currencies, in a quick summary of what they are, it's an online wallet form of keeping digital pounds. And it's a very, very good way for the government to track your spending and have a lot more control. So I'm going to go into a breakdown of why I have a big issue with central banking digital currencies. And I think by the end of this video, I could probably change your opinion if you are in favor of CBDCs. Now, let me start by saying I'm no financial advisor. I'm just a guy who loves investing and trying to better my future by making some wise financial decisions. And part of that is investing in gold and silver. So, if you are somebody that thinks central banking digital currencies are a good idea, I would have to say that I think you've got your eyes wide shut. Now, let's go into some of the factors of why I think that. Well, some factors are the control over your spending is what will happen if you are using central banking digital currencies. The government will have a lot more control over what you do with your money. Now, what happens with the moment with the banks is when you make a transaction, that money does not go, for example, straight into the company of the supermarket, say Tesco's or Walmart. The money you spend in the supermarket will go as a pending transaction. Now that will automatically show that it has come out of your bank account, but it hasn't actually. It's just a pending transaction. And what happens, it then has to go through the process and be, it will go eventually straight to the bank that it needs to go to for that transaction. It has nothing to do with the Bank of England. So what happens is you make that transaction, it goes to the bank it's registered to go to, and then at a certain point of every day, all of the banks that have received a transaction from a spender then send all of that information to the Bank of England. So the Bank of England have a huge amount of transactions coming in at one point every single day from all of the registered banks in the United Kingdom. But the Bank of England do not know any information about each of those individual thousands or millions of transactions. Well, what will happen with CBDCs is you will go into the supermarket and you will purchase something, but that money will instantly go straight into the receiving bank of the user. But before it does that, it has to go through the Bank of England. They will be like the governing body of the UK's CBDCs. So you can see where this is going. If you've got millions of transactions going on every day that then eventually get sent to the Bank of England, right now they don't have any information on those individual transactions. They don't know who I am. They don't know the details of me. Whereas when CBDCs come in, they will know who I am, where I've spent that, what I've spent it on at what time. So it gives the central bank of that country every bit of information they want to know about you. Now, of course, that is not good for the spender because it gives you absolutely no privacy. So let's talk some more about this. Well, with the, okay, let's give an example. If there was another lockdown like we had with COVID-19, they could, in theory, with CBDCs, limit how far you can spend your money with your CBDC wallet. For example, say they have set a lockdown limit of 1 mile from your residential house. Well, as we know, when the first lockdown happened, most people broke the rules, didn't they? People stuck to it with a degree, but not everyone stuck to those rules completely, complicitly. Well, what could happen is if everybody's now using central banking digital currencies, the government could say, right, there is another lockdown and we can make a way of guaranteeing that you are not going to leave your house by setting a 1 mile spending limit from your registered permanent address. So you can see how that already has a massively detrimental effect on the control of the spender. Now, we can talk about other things that they might do. So let's have a look. I've taken some notes down here. They could also limit your spending amounts and where and when you can spend it. It's a digital currency. It's all online. The information is trackable to the spender, the name, the address, the location, the spending habits, what you're spending, how much you're spending, what time of day, how far away. All this information is going to be gathered by central banking digital currencies. Now, how will this affect precious metals? Well, let's say, for example, we skip forward a few years and say central banking digital currencies have been enforced. The banks have pretty much been shut down, made redundant. People have been told you need to take your money out of your bank account and transition it into a central banking digital currency wallet. Maybe they're given incentive, something like, say someone's got £20,000 in their bank account. They say, okay, today is the day everyone needs to transition into CBDC wallets. If you do it right now, we'll give you 100 digital pounds on top of your amount that you already have in your savings account. So of course, there will be incentives for them to get people to do it straight away. Now, what will that mean for cash? Well, let's say CBDCs have been running for a couple of years, maybe 3, 4, 5 years. They will, without a doubt, be wanting cash to be redundant. They will want to be getting cash to a point where they can officially say cash is no longer usable. Why would they want to do that? Because cash is untrackable and untraceable. And how will that link to gold and silver purchases? Well, it will have a hugely bad detrimental effect on gold and silver. Now, let me give you an example. Going back to my earlier point, if with central banking digital currencies, they limit how far you can make purchases, well, you might think, well, that's all right. I've got some cash in the safe. I'll just go into the shop and use my cash. Because it's not traceable, it's untrackable. They can't set a limit on cash and where you can spend it. No, they can't. But if they do make cash redundant, then you can't do that. You cannot then go and spend that money in cash as an untraceable and untrackable source because it's no longer usable. They've made it redundant. So therefore you're stuck. You've only got your CBDC wallet. You've got no cash and your money is limited, locked, and you're being told how much and how far you can spend it. So how would this have a hugely detrimental effect on gold and silver? It's going to have a huge effect. If you do not think CBDCs are going to affect gold and silver, I think you've got your eyes wide shut. Now, let me give you an example, a very clear example. Gold and silver is a very, very favourable asset to investors for one big reason. It's untrackable and untraceable. If you buy gold and silver privately with cash, the government will never know you've got this 1/4 ounce gold Britannia or this 1 ounce silver Britannia. Heck, even if you've purchased gold and silver bullion through the debiting system, if you hold on to that gold and silver bullion for long enough, what happens with the debiting system is it kind of like knocks itself off after a few years, because obviously the bank cannot completely store the entire amount of information for a complete lifetime, because there just wouldn't be enough data, enough room. So how will it affect gold and silver? Well, as we know, digital wallets are going to make it trackable, traceable, and the government will have every bit of information on you as possible. Say you can no longer use cash, so that takes that element out of it. Well, that takes the element of untraceability and the benefit of precious metals being a resource of investment that is very, very shadowy, that the government and people don't know about. Because how else will you purchase it? You cannot purchase it using cash. You cannot purchase it using the debit system because that will no longer be around. So it'll only be available to purchase through CBDCs, your central banking digital wallet. But the government will know about that because, again, they've got all of the details. So then what will happen to gold and silver? Will that lower the prices? Because people will no longer see gold and silver as this wonderful asset of being untraceable and untrackable and almost the king of investing, because you can, there's a reason why the billionaires and millionaires stick all of this money into gold and silver, because they can then put it somewhere and nobody will know about it. But if you've only got an option of using a CBDC wallet, that takes away the benefit of precious metals having that benefit of being, an untraceable asset. That's why, as precious metal stackers, we all like to keep tangible gold and silver, isn't it? Because we know that we're investing in ourselves, we're putting money in an asset that's going to hedge against inflation, and more importantly, we know that it's ours. Nobody knows about it unless we want to tell them about it. Well, that won't be the case with CBDCs, will it? Because everything will be tracked and traced online. So that is my opinion on CBDCs. I think it's a big negative, because you're going to completely lower the options of spending abilities that you've got. Right now, you've got debit transactions, an easy way to spend money online. Right now, you've got cash, an untraceable way of spending money, and it's just a really easy way to spend money as well. Whereas they're going to take those two options away and give you one option which has traceability. Well, when you're buying stuff like this, you don't want traceability. You want to be anonymous, don't you? You want it to be a private asset that no one knows about. The last people you want knowing is the government. So I think that could potentially have a huge effect on gold and silver, potentially, very, very potentially, massively lowering the value of precious metals. Because why would people want to invest in it if it's, if it's something that loses a big part of its current benefits? I know it's still a great investment against inflation, and look at the history of it. The value has always increased, but CBDCs have never been a thing in the history before, have they? So who knows? We're going to have to wait and see. I know I'm still going to be investing in gold and silver because I believe whatever happens, it will outweigh the storm of the CBDCs. And I think people will panic, and maybe it could go the opposite way. Maybe we could get lucky and it will push gold and silver prices up, because when people start panicking like they always do with fiat currency, people run to gold and silver. So it could have the opposite effect and push prices up. So what I'm getting at is this could potentially have an effect on some of the benefits that we like with precious metals. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and a big shout out to our future premium investor members, the Stack Collector. Thanks for watching as always, and until next time, I'll see you in the very next episode. Bye bye, guys. To watch another episode on future investments, click the link now.